First time we've seen you since you're back from Argentina.
Yeah.
Tell me how you felt that gesture of attending for yourself, for the club, was appreciated by Emiliano Sala's family and friends.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, they were a very close-knit community, really. I think nearly everybody came to this. What do you call it, a wake, or what, in the local village hall it was, and it was just. Well, never seen anything like it, really. Just people coming up all the time to the mother. The mother was, I don't know how she coped, really, because, as I said, everybody that came up to her when I was with her, she was. They were going back talking about when he was 4 years old, 7-year-old. Are you with me? And every time a story came up, she was crying her eyes out, bless her, and it was just one of those days, really. It was non-stop. But at least I think at the end, when. We'd been to the crematorium. I think she had a bit of closure then. It was nice to be there. I'd no doubt it was the right thing to do, I think. But it was really an experience actually being there as well and seeing all the emotion from everybody, really, from well known, really. The press were everywhere, from every country, really.
You've come back. The story hasn't gone away, but it's a different type of story now. It's about the detail of the deal. It's about the finance. Are you dismayed that that's the way this has turned?
No, I've every confidence. I think there's been a lot of stuff wrote, really. I know people have got jobs to do, but I think there's been a lot of surmising things, and I know Mehmet Dalman since I've been here, and I'm quite sure that the club will deal with it in the right way in the next few days. Because they've asked for an extension, and I think Narts have agreed to that. I just think certain things were done probably in reflection that shouldn't have been done, that stirred everybody up, and I think since then it's. I think, like I say, I've got every confidence in Mehmet that it will come to a conclusion in the near future.
When you say certain things were done that shouldn't have been done, what exactly?
I don't really want to go into detail on that, but it created stories that shouldn't have been done. It should have been kept between the two clubs, really.
Right. The stories that have come out this morning are that there were mistakes made in the registration of Emiliano with the Premier League. Can you throw any light?
No, I think really all I can talk about is the football side. Mehmet, Ken are dealing with all that side. All I know is that, as I've said, Mehmet, I'm convinced Mehmet will be able to come to a conclusion, because he doesn't say things that he can't. I think that he will bring this to a conclusion in the next I don't know how many days.
Football-wise, then, do you fear that this could run and run? This could plague you and drag on and on for the rest of this season?
Well, if we lose every game, yes, I'll blame that, if that's what you mean. But I think football's football, really. The lads have been very good since the initial. We've had 3 games since the terrible tragedy, and they've responded in every game, really. And I think now, 12 games to go, it's the same again. I think it's difficult to keep playing the same team. We get little niggles and things, so I have to try and focus on what I think will be a team to get a result, really. We're playing a very good Watford side tomorrow. I think probably the best team outside the top 6 tomorrow, and they're showing everybody else outside the top 6 how to go about the business, really, to progress, and I think they've progressed every year now, the last few years.
Last question on what's going on in the background, because it does have an impact on the football side, in the sense that you have talked about a vendetta out there against yourself. We've seen stories now where your son James has been involved, questions asked about his role and whether there's a conflict of interest. Has that concerned you? Do you feel that? Not
really. I feel sorry for James, if I'm honest. Morrison, we mentioned, we turned down 5 million from Sheffield Wednesday, so it was, I think, a sensible thing to put him on a longer contract. Young Reece Healy was mentioned, who was an up-and-coming lad who I think's got a good future in the game. All the other players were at the club before I came to the club. It mentioned me signing Zaha at Palace. I don't think that was a bad signing for 6 million, really, when he's worth about 60 now. But, you know, it's put people right, isn't it, really? I know a lot more about other sons, but...
Attention, please.
Oh, dear.
Attention, please. We are investigating an alarm condition.
Oh, dear.
Try and get to
It may be necessary to evacuate the building. Please await further announcements.
That's very nice.
Good time.
So we'll come back and we'll step out a sec.
Shall we?
It'll be a couple of minutes, so we'll come back.
We are investigating an alarm.
Where were we? Yeah, you talked about the vendetta and so on. You've got no worries then that there's a problem?
None at all. Probably the wrong word, that, really. I just think a couple of journalists in particular, you know, over the last 15 years, really, when I look at the columns that they've written, it's not just journalism, but hey-ho.
Back-to-back wins. How confident are you could make it 3? What would that mean to your season?
Oh, I mean, it would be incredible for a club like ours. I don't think it's been. I mean, it's been since 1960 that we've done a double. So I don't know whether treble's ever been done. I haven't got a clue. But every game we are trying to win the games home and away now. You know, I think the lads are a lot more positive. The way they go about the jobs. You know, it's difficult. You know, we've got 1 or 2 players that are carrying knocks that we're not sure about, and I don't really want to play anybody that's not 100% at the moment, especially when we've got 3 games in 7 days. So we're going to have a look this morning at who's 100% and then make our decision then.
During your time here, Neil, you've talked about the potential of Kenneth Zohore. You've talked about the frustration and how he has you tearing your hair out. Where are you on that scale at the moment after that goal he scored?
Well, I just not just the goal. I think his attitude has been tremendous. I can't fault him the last 6 weeks. Whether the penny dropped, but he trained really hard to get back into my good books. I told him from day one, you know, you've got to do it on the training ground, really. And he's worked as hard as I've ever seen him. He looks as sharp as I've ever seen him. And he'll get his opportunity shortly, won't he? You know, with Niassi not ineligible against Everton as well. I'm sure there'll be times in the next couple of games that Ken will get another opportunity.
Do you see him being a key player for the 12 games?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people that can score goals are few and far between, really, and we've got to, you know, got to hope that one of those hits a purple patch.
You've got 12 games left. Will 12 points be enough?
I don't think anybody, we're all guessing really. I think if you had a poll in this room today, everybody'd have a different points total really. But you know, you just don't know really. I haven't got a clue what sort of points value, you know, other teams. I mean, we look at our fixture and think, wow, that's, you know, they're difficult. But, you know, other teams have difficult games as well. I don't think there are any easy games. So it's a matter now of doing the best we can. We know there's 2 or 3 games that we're highly unlikely to get points from. So we've got to try and make sure we try and get points from the rest.
What have you made of Watford and the job that Javier Gracia has done? Well,
he's proved people right. You know, he's lasted longer than anybody else, hasn't he? And he's a lovely man, and his staff are very nice as well, very amicable. You know, I mean, they although the score was 3-2, they beat us at times down there. They beat at first hour. We didn't really get near them. So they are a very big, strong, physical side who've got good players. So. We know we'll have to be on our best to come, you know, to get something out of it. But you know, we're at home. We'll probably get a good crowd, if not a full house, and we're quite capable of getting results there against anybody, really.
And in terms of building up that gap between yourselves now and the bottom 3, you managed it before, had a little cushion, and then it went away. What's the key to making sure you keep it this time?
Well, I think if you look at some of the teams just above us, I mean, they've had fantastic runs and below us, and yet we're still there. So I just think we've got to look after ourselves, really. Set targets and try and get to those targets. You know, we set targets of the 15 games, what we wanted from 5, and then the next 5, and then following 5, you know, and you know, we've got to try and keep to those and see if we can, you know, even get, you know, beyond that if we can.
What's the current target?
Can't tell you. Just it's up on the dressing room table, on the wall there, but it's just for us to see that, really.
Right. But you've achieved what you wanted from the previous one?
No, not quite. No, not quite. We've got 2 games to go this in this first lot.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Neil, the match, you mentioned about the match obviously at Vicarage Road and how strong you think Watford are, but strength often comes out of adversity, and I wonder whether you feel your squad is a stronger squad facing Watford this time around.
Oh yeah, I do. I think we're playing better. I think we've got players who, know they can play at this level now, and whereas I think it might have been, are we good enough? But I think they've proved over the last few games. I think the Arsenal game was the turning point, really. To have 19 shots at Arsenal and two or three great chances, you don't very often get that at a place like that. So I think that showed us, and then to come up, to get 2 wins on the trot in the circumstances have been super, really.
Do you think they're mentally stronger as a result of what the club has been through in recent weeks?
I would imagine so, because I think everybody copes with it differently, don't they? Myself, I've never experienced anything like it. I think some of the younger lads. It probably brought home a little bit more about the family situation. Are you with me? Because you don't really know what's going on in the minds, really. But I think 1 or 2 of the younger lads, probably it affected them more than the senior pros. But I think the senior pros have been excellent. I think we have got a good group of senior pros here. Your Bambas, your Morrisons and your Gunnarsons. They're very, very good professionals, and I think they've been excellent around the training ground.
Funny enough, talking to Aaron yesterday, he was saying how proud he felt of everybody in the way that things have been handled. The club as a larger picture, but also how they've handled things in the dressing room. Can you see that amongst them? Has it maybe brought them a little bit closer again as a result of what they have been through?
Yeah, I think so. I think everything, in adversity, you tend to pull together, don't you, really? And I think that's been the situation. But if anything, it's just made us. I think it's made us play more. I think we wanted to play more at a more of a tempo, etc. And we have got good players. I think it's just believing in themselves, really. And I think they have done this last few games. So we know how difficult it's going to be tomorrow night. But we've got to make sure we try and give them a good game.
They're obviously all professionals, and as you say, they've got the ability there and everything. But I guess there's been an extra level of emotion through the last few games. From your point of view, is that a positive thing? Will you be trying to keep that level of emotion going, or do you feel that it's better for them now to sort of settle back to there's a job just to focus on?
I don't think it's something like that. I know what you're saying. I don't think it is like that. I think it just sort of calms down anyhow, the situation. I don't think it's something that you focus different or something else. I think it's just the emotion. I think it was important, the funeral, etc. And then when we came back, we just get on with our business, really. And so I think it's just been something that we wish hadn't have happened. But now we've got to get on with the 12 games, really.
Talking about those 12 games, after the Bournemouth game, Harry Redknapp was saying basically, if Cardiff play like that every week, there is absolutely no chance that you will drop out of the Premier League. Nice to hear from somebody like Harry. Was he overstating it?
Well, I think if we played like that, I'd agree with him. But unfortunately, you sometimes don't play like that every week. The Premier League is such that anybody can beat anybody else on the day, really. I think apart from the top 2 or 3 clubs now, which are getting, there's not so many freak results, really, anymore. But I still think that, it's anybody's sort of in that bottom half. I still think there'll be teams looking below, which probably weren't 5 or 6 weeks ago. So we've always known that we're in a fight, So we've always known we're probably the only team down there that's known that we're going to be in a fight right to the death, really. And I know Graham says about the points difference and what have you, but I don't think we'll be sort of 6 points outside the bottom 3 and with a cigar in our mouth anytime soon, if I'm honest.
In a strange sort of way, though, bearing in mind your sort of history and how you operate and things like that, are you sort of quite relishing that? I mean, it would be lovely to be comfortable, I appreciate that. But are you sort of almost relishing the fact that you've still got a battle on your hands with your last 12 games?
Yeah, I mean, we've had challenges all season, really. when we hadn't won a game in the first, I don't know how many games, and we get people telling us it's the worst team they've seen, we're not going to get 11 points. That's a challenge to get past 11 points, first of all, and then the next challenge is the next, that 20-point mark, and it goes on like that. And like I said, there's some very big teams that have really been in the Premier League long time around us, with good squads, massive squads, and so... for us to be there, and I think everybody appreciates that our budget is as low as there's ever been in the Premier League, really, the wages and the players that we've bought. So I think it's just a great challenge for us. But I think stories like this, I think they can have happy endings. We just don't know. It won't be for the lack of trying. That is what I do know, because we've got such a great group, and the fans have been amazing. So I just don't see anything other than everybody giving everything in the last 6 home games and the last 6 away games.
Absolutely. A final one for me. Can you still say you're enjoying it, or is it a bit exhausting at this stage?
It's a bit exhausted at this stage, if I'm totally honest. I'm sure we'll look back at the end of the season if I enjoy it or not. I think it depends on what the outcome is, really, because it is hard work when you are competing with what we're competing with. But the lads keep helping me out by surprising me and stepping up another gear. And somebody comes in, we get injuries. We've had Morrison out so many weeks, haven't we? And people have stepped up. We've had Victor's been out a few weeks. So we've had problems to deal with, and they still keep coming up with answers. Such a great group. But it is tiring, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. We'll enjoy the rest of the interview.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Morning, Neil.
Bye.
Just one from me away from the football if I can, and then I promise I'll take it back to the football. Willie McKay's comments that the club have hung him out to dry, and the kind of a couple of journalists linking his son's involvement with Cardiff. I just wondered if you had anything on that.
I think everything's been said, really. I think if you keep talking about it, they'll keep writing about it, won't they? I think enough's been said on that from my point of view.
Fair enough. One good thing about all the focus being on that is I go third and no one's asked you about team news yet. So how are you looking for tomorrow night?
Yeah, I don't really know about team news. We have got 2 or 3 niggles, but we'll know more in the next couple of hours. When we're training, we're optimistic that 1 or 2 might be doing a bit more training today than yesterday. But we're not far off a full house, full sort of squad. It's just a couple of niggles that won't go away really at the minute.
I know you touched on this earlier in the press conference, but I think from the fans' point of view, Kenneth Sahor's goal, the fact that it was Kenneth Sahor, obviously winning in the last minute is the best thing when you're a football fan anyway. But I think a lot of Cardiff fans are looking at Kenneth Sahor and going, that could just be the player that makes all the difference. You always speak about him like he's a massive challenge to get him fit and firing. Do you kind of share their view that he's going to be massive?
I think we, when we look at, the fans are like me, we look back at what he's done in the past, really, and he's either chalk or cheese, isn't it? And we're just hoping that this last 12 games, his contribution can enable us to get, it'll be goals that keep us in the league. But they've shown the character, the lads, because, I think we are at the top of the league. I think there's only Wolves that have scored more goals than us in the 90-plus minutes, which is a tremendous credit to this group. So it's at a time where you'd think we'd be in the corners holding the balls, or we're trying to score goals. I think it's great to be like that, and long may it continue. So yeah, I hope Ken. I hope he finishes the season like he's playing now. I thought he did well against Man United. Was it Man United when he come on? No, yeah. Was it? It was. I thought he did well, and then he just hurt his thigh just at the end of the game, which put him back another couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So he's just got to get a good run. At the moment, he's touch wood. He's having a good run at the minute on the training ground, and we're going to need that, because I thought he did well with Omar as well, which gives us another option of playing them both,
One striker tomorrow people are likely to get a look at is Troy Deeney. There was a lot of talk over the summer that maybe, just maybe, Cardiff would be able to entice him here. Kind of from your perspective, what happened there, and was it a disappointment to you that you couldn't get it done?
Well, I think I think players like Troy Deeney are an asset to anybody, really. So I didn't think it was really a reality, if I'm honest. Even though it was, it was mentioned. But yes, I mean, I think any team, most teams in the division would have a Troy Deeney.
Finally, for me, one thing you mentioned earlier, you think more teams are kind of getting sucked into what could be a very exciting, obviously not for you exciting, but the relegation battle's really heating up. Did you kind of anticipate that a few weeks ago? Teams like maybe Brighton getting sucked back in?
I think you say not for us, but because we've always known we're in it, I think it's great for us. I think we've surprised people already. Us, when you look at teams below us. I think people expected us to be in that sort of bracket, really. So we've just got to be level-headed and give it our best shot. And if it is good enough, great. And if it's not, then so be it. It won't, like I say, it won't be for the lack of trying with this group of players.
Never mind 3 in a row, Neil. If you win tomorrow, you go to 13th. You jump 3 places. I can't remember Cardiff City being up the flying. No, it comes before everyone else plays, but that must be a bit of an incentive. Are your points in the bag?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I don't. To get 3 wins in the trot in the Premier League for a club like Cardiff is nigh on impossible. When we won games early in the season, we always seem to have a top team the next time. And we've won 2 now, and now we've got I think the best team outside that top group. So I think it will answer a lot of questions tomorrow, because they will put us under a lot of we get labelled with being physical, etc. But I think Watford have everything, really. They've got big, strong, physical players, but bags of ability, and we'll be tested to the limit tomorrow. So it's a great test for us, and I'm looking forward to it.
Sean's been out since 12th of January, your last game. When are we likely to see him back? Well,
he's training. He had another tough session yesterday, and really, I mean, he's just got to have a bit of football in his locker. Really, we're trying to, we're not pushing him. We're just, he's making the decision, and we keep, we'll keep talking to him over. We got, like I said, 3 games in a week, so it's pointless rushing him if it's not quite ready. I'm hoping he's going to be involved at some stage this week.
But physically, he's okay.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's just, I think he's just blowing through his.
Might you give him an under-23 game, or might you just play behind closed doors? Or?
No, yeah, just behind closed doors, yeah. And we have games, and I referee.
So how important has he been to this group?
Well, he's our leader, really. I think we talked about it earlier with Graham about, I think my boy looks after him, James. To turn down an offer of 5 million, I think it was, might have been 6. From Sheffield Wednesday, and a massive wage increase, for him to come back and say, I want to stay, I'll sign a new contract, I think it's an amazing thing. And I think that's been pivotal in what we've done, really, since I've been at the club. I think his commitment has been fabulous. And most people would have run for the money, but he said he felt something special happening, and thankfully we've gone in that direction.
So you just mentioned about transfers. We talked about maybe a transfer ban, and you mentioned earlier on about North now having agreed an extension to the payment of the first tranche of money for Salah. That's the case, then, is it? I
don't know. Honestly, all I know is I trust. I think Mehmet has said it more than once now. I think he says it every day. That there will be an outcome, and I have every confidence in Mehmet Delman that he'll come up with the right answers, hopefully in the next few days or whatever, and it'll be amicable.
Thank you.
Neil, will you have a bit of a problem when Morrison is available to be fully fit, because Bruno's done so well in the sense that him and Bamba seem to be striking up a really good relationship? Yeah,
the thing is, in football, you get so looking at things and then something happens in training, or They get out the car at the cinema and go over on their ankle. Stupid little things have happened in my career, do you know what I mean? And so you don't know what's around the corner. All I can say is we're a better squad when Morrison's fit. And if I've got more headaches, I have to have more headaches. At least it's only for 12 games.
Will Bruno play it right back again, or is it back 3?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I would imagine he could play anywhere, Bruno, at the minute, the way he's playing. But I also think Peltier's done remarkably well in the last few games, which has helped us. because we've been able to do other things, you know. And then we've got Bakuna, who's really desperate to get in as well, and I think he's looked sharp in training. So it's a good asset at the minute, that situation. When you look at the forward play as well, I think, you know, all the forwards have looked sharp. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Some of my better players aren't even going to be on the bench. You know, that's how difficult it is for me, and that's probably the worst part in management, really, because I always tell them. I mean, some of my old managers used to just pin the team sheet up. That were a lot easier for a manager. I wish I could do that now, but I have to get them in and tell them. And players who are left out all believe they should be playing. It's, you know, and that's how football should be, really. So it's hard work, and my decisions will be, you know, scrutinised by yourself and all the fans, and they'll all have different opinions. The only way I can answer that is if we win. That's the only way I can answer it, really.
You've been doing that in recent weeks.
Yeah.
Victor's had a niggle, has he, recently? That's why he's been out of contention. Is he?
Yeah, he's got this. I mean, he's having treatment. He has a medical team from Spain as well that look after him. He's had that all his career, so it's a little bit complicated when we're talking to their physios and our physios, and sometimes we don't agree. You know, yeah. For example, if you saw a scan of Sol Bamba's thigh, a surgeon or a consultant would say he should be missing for 6 weeks to recover, right? And he's played every game since Morrison's been out. But if you saw the scan of his thigh, he should have been out for 6 weeks. So scans, while they tell you things, I always think that the player knows himself if he's fit or not. So it's difficult for Victor because he has so many people talking to him. That it's difficult for me. Sorry?
He's been so good, hasn't he, Victor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, I think last night, if he's fit, he's playing into. So it's difficult. You know, when they do have so many advisors from different countries, you know, so much easier when you've got somebody like Sol Bamba who says, "I'm fit, gaffer," even if he's not.
What is his injury?
He's got a thigh problem. Is that it? So, sorry, Kamasa. So I thought you meant Sol. It's a calf injury, just the back, back of the calf injury, really. So, I mean, he's doing most things really well. It's just that they're looking at the scans and they're giving their opinions, really. So it's difficult, really, for me.
Okay.
All right. Thanks ever so much. Thank you. Thank you.